Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
And Funk Master Aljamain Sterling just dominated the formerly undefeated Brett the Pikey Johns at UFC Atlantic City in a top-ranked bantamweight fight. This was a great performance by Aljamain Sterling, who was coming off a pretty brutal KO at the hands of Marlon Moraes. And not to mention, was this a dominant performance by Aljamain Sterling, he also made a real big call out, and I really hope he gets this fight. I mean, we'll see what happens, but he called out Dominick Cruz. He might not get the fight, but at the same time, it's good to call your shots. And if you do get the fight, that helps promote the fight. So it's always good to call your shots. And right before this fight, Aljamain Sterling's coach, Matt Serra, was inducted into the Hall of Fame, which was a big moment, of course, for Team Serra-Longo. Matt Serra used to be a former fighter himself, if you didn't know. He used to be former UFC welterweight champion, one of the only guys to beat George St. Pierre. He upset George St. Pierre. You know, he came off the Ultimate Fighter, got a shot at the title, and shocked the world. Upset George St. Pierre. Second fight, George St. Pierre came back and got the belt back. But either way, Matt Serra went from being the UFC welterweight champion to be one of the best coaches in the game. He coaches Aljamain Sterling. He coaches Ali Aquinta, Merab Davishvili, who had a great performance tonight, even though he came out on the losing end. Chris Weidman. You know, there's a lot of really good fighters that come out of Serra-Longo. So, well-deserved for Matt Serra. He's also on the UFC's official podcast, UFC Unfiltered. You see him on Dana White's Tuesday night, Dana White's Looking for a Fight. But Funk Master Aljamain Sterling, man, he's a dominant bantamweight, and that's why I predicted him to win this fight. As he's never been dominating in his career. He's got 3 losses, and they all came in the UFC. He's got a lot of UFC experience for his youth, but his first 2 losses were split decision. He outstruck both of his opponent, if I'm not mistaken. So he lost 2 split decisions. If he would have got his hand raised, he would have been undefeated. Then he fought, but he wasn't. Clearly, you know, it is what it is. You've seen worse decisions. I mean, I'm just saying, though, he didn't. It's not like in any of his losses he's been dominated. That's the only point I'm making with that. So he lost 2 split decisions, and then he lost a KO to Marlon Moraes. But even Marlon Moraes was like, yo, I didn't even mean to knock him out with that strike. That was supposed to be a kick, but you know, it just so happened it was calculated. He was like going for a takedown at the time I was throwing the knee, and it, you know, it connected. So it's, and before that, it's not like Marlon Moraes was like dominating him, like just working him and then got the KO. It was a KO early in the fight, so we didn't get to see really how the fight would play out. That's another thing he touched on. He was like, yo, I felt like I really matched up well against Marlon Moraes, but he calculated right, got the KO. He didn't make no excuses. He even gave it to Marlon Moraes, who instead he calculated it, even though Marlon Moraes admitted that's not the case. But not making any excuses, he said, Dominick Cruz, where you at, baby? Hey, that'd be a great fight. Dominick Cruz, he's a guy that's might be looking for a #1 contender fight. But we just saw TJ Dillashaw get rebooked against Cody Garbrandt for the title fight. So if Dominick Cruz was hoping to fight one of those guys, that would be on hold. But maybe Dominick Cruz wants to fight a higher ranked guy. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Jimmy Rivera in a #1 contender fight, or maybe the winner of Marlon Moraes, Jimmy Rivera. We'll see what happens, but I still like the call out by Aljamain Sterling, one of the only UFC fighters I actually interviewed ahead of this fight. Make sure you go check that out. With that being said, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments about the Funk Master's performance against Brett the Pikey Johns. He won 3 rounds to 0, pretty dominant performance. And now Brett Johns just took his first loss in the UFC. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
This is #1 bullshit.